Yeah.
Benvenuti in Italia. Tegelijk.
No.
3, 2, 1.
This time we are with Andrea and Julia in the north of Italy, the region of Piedmont, in the Valtusella.
Valquisella.
In the
Valquisella.
in the Valquisella, where they are living in a piece of land with a house and trying to live a sustainable lifestyle.
Andrea is from Turin.
And Julia is from Argentina. And that's it.
They have bought a semi-detached house in a valley which was quite abandoned before. So next to the house they have a big piece of land of almost 2 hectares, and where they have a part of it they are growing their own vegetables. The other part is mostly orchard, where they have different kinds of apple trees, pear trees and plums. And also different kinds of nuts. So they have walnuts, but also there's a lot of chestnut around.
And cat nuts.
And what nuts?
Cat nuts.
Cat nuts?
They are nuts. Okay.
Most of the products they produce on the land, they process them and preserve them themselves for their own consumption, and also to share within family and friends, and in selling it in possible markets. So let's have a look at the kitchen, because that's where we spend most of the time working with them.
They call it the laboratory. This is the laboratory, and we could consider it like the heart of the house, because it's where all the most important processes are taking place. That is the preservation of the food that comes from the garden. Their idea is to be self-sufficient towards food, but of course there are some windows when you can get crops out of your field, or the different vegetables have some times of the year where they give. To have all of this food the rest of the year, they need to preserve it. In this period we harvested most of the things, and the main preserves that we were doing were preserves related with apple. They try to preserve it in different ways and also try to find new recipes or ideas. Also, being in Italy, tomato can be considered the most basic preserve here. Also, they have a big production of peppers that they preserve pickled, or do some experiments. The other day we discovered that you can do a really tasty pesto from these peppers. The main complication that they have is to get their carbohydrates from the farm, because they will need a big extension for maize or for cereals to be grown in enough amount. They cover it by planting potatoes, and they have also plans in the future to do maybe flour from the walnuts. So as you can see, a lot of things are going on. They have limited time. It's a lot of effort that they are investing on this, but it's a great example of a self-sufficient household.
Monkey in the tree.
This is the second part of the test.
We still have so much.
Here, from the apple trees that they do jams. They got a pH meter and a refractometer to know the parameters of the jam, because, for example, it needs to be acid, so the botulinum bacteria cannot grow. They already measure the amount of sugar that the fruits have, and it's between 10 and 20%, and then they need to add 25% of the weight in sugar to reach that level of sugar that will not let the mold develop. The jam is cooked around 70 degrees for some time to sterilize it, and not higher temperature, because if not it can degrade the vitamins. The bottles also need to be sterilized, and that's done by letting them in boiling water. And like this you can have safe and tasty jam for yourself. After all the process is done, they boil one more time the jam to be sure that there is a vacuum created and is sterilized.
And I'm an African dog. Our farm is called Cascina Cerezano. Cascina will be like a farmhouse. It's an Italian word. And Cerezano was the name of the house.
It means place of cherries. They grow just wild.
I think when we bought this house, the thing we wanted to do is like try to live in a different way.
We're trying to decrease our impact.
I'm happy that I have a place that allows me to experiment with a lot of things, so I can have more time to do things that I like, that motivate me.
We haven't had any skills when we start. We just had a lot of enthusiasm, and we learned in these 3 or 4 years. We learned a lot of things. You know, how to work with wood, how to do the plasters.
I make my own garden, my preserves. I have a second kitchen where I can put all our food.
And we can choose what we consume. Stone walls and fix engines and other things. We want to transform this pasture in a big orchard and gradually implant a food forest, but eventually on the long run. That's the idea. So we already plant 30-40 trees, and every year we are implementing that and find what you really want. It's already the first step, you know, in order to change. If you feel overwhelmed, just stop. We've grown with the idea that our dreams are just silly because the world is already like this, and because you have an etiquette of being silly. I guess just be silly. Exposing yourself to something that is can appear radical sometimes, and maybe it's weird or strange or very sometimes naive, or very uncomfortable, like living without a house for a year. It makes you appreciate every single thing that you have when you don't have it anymore. In the same time, you understand that a lot of things you don't need it. So exposing yourself to different experience will teach you a lot of lessons.
Rediscover the value of simple things. Ask yourself, like, how is the best way to do this? Or should I the only choice I have is just go and buy it? Or do I have any choices? The only choice is a supermarket, or can I find like a farmer? Can I find alternative solutions to buy things? Or can I reuse? Can I build something I need instead of buying it? I like to play that game, and I do it often.
Not everything can go perfect all the time. We're just trying to live a better life.
If every single person, like even if you are like the smallest person in the world, can do like a good action, like every single person like doing a lot of good actions can change the world. If you want to see what we are doing, Cascina Cerezano, I think you have to write it maybe down here.
Scored some free food and drinks. Running for Kika!
The Run for Kika is an event in Eindhoven to get money for children with cancer, and we cannot be physically there, but we are going to support it from here. Alice, no.
Samen.
Alice.
Oh.
I'm the boring one.
So next to the house they have a big piece of land of almost 2
Acres.
acres.
Deja vu. That was the video.